That's Bob Iacino. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I appreciate all the support you've given us in this project. Also, please check us out at unfilteredinvestor.com. We talk about some of the economic and trading narratives we discuss on the show, and then break them down to more granular, actionable items. Please join us there. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Independence Arc Farms. We always talk about how big, huge food conglomerates are taking over our food system, and they are. There is something we can do about it. We're not helpless in this. Uh, be Subscribe to independencearc.farms newsletter, get their products. They are amazing. Talk to Marco there. Today, I'm excited about this show. It's another installment in our series on health. We've had Dr. Lufkin on. We've had Dr. Baker on. Today, we have Brian Sanders of foodlies.org, who of the Peak Human podcast, of the Food Lies film, which my understanding is it's not quite finished yet. It's in production. Is that correct?
In production, yeah.
But most of you probably follow Brian on Twitter because he has a huge following. I'm so excited to talk to him. Brian, I'm drinking matcha tea. Is matcha tea healthy? Is that good or no?
Yeah, it's all good. I drink some cold brew, some matcha. Just don't go nuts on it. Don't go over like 5 cups.
Okay. And what about regular old coffee? Because Bobby and I drink a lot of that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a cutoff, but I stick to 2. I have 2 coffees per day, and it works for me.
Good. All right. So here's
5. I heard there's something maybe 5 or 6. You could be getting too high in the caffeine.
Got it. Okay. So a kid, again, fitness and health. I've coached for 30 years. I've been into fitness and health for 30 years. And a kid called me the other day who I coached, and he's now, a young man, probably low 30s. And he said, I still work out hard, but I got to change my diet. Here's what I told him, and I want you to tell me where I'm wrong. So I said that we intermittent fast 1 day a week, not the entire day. We go dinner to dinner, 24 hours. We try to eat foods that don't spike insulin, and that's 70% good fats and meat, and only 30% non-processed carbs. What else do you think is the best advice for a kid who's just finally realizes that his body, when you work 10 hours a day, isn't when he was a quarterback of the football team?
Those are 2 good starts right there. Yeah. Eat fewer times per day. So yeah, I mean, you're talking about like a 24-hour fast or like
just 24 Sunday dinner to Monday dinner. Yeah.
That's great. Once a week. I only eat 2 meals a day. I think 2 to 3 meals are good. I think you're correct in the meat and fat, like that's the majority, and then the unprocessed carbs. Limiting processed foods is the number 1 driver of health. Like if I actually put a little investment in a cancer screening company, and then they started asking me questions about how much red meat I eat and penalizing me. I'm like, can I get my investment back? And then they're asking me, how many servings of whole grains do you eat per day? How many servings of this, that? I'm like, this is not the right questions. These are not the right questions, right? The questions should all be around, especially if you're going for a broad audience. I don't want to get, you could get very specific, and I could give lots of questions that I'd ask, but for a broad audience, do you avoid processed foods? How often do you eat out at restaurants? Like just restaurant food, fried food, and processed food. Avoiding those is going to get you 80% of the way there.
Okay. Tell me this, because I own a restaurant, and I eat my restaurant food every day but I eat the beef. We get great beef. We're a burger joint, and I eat it for like a pound of ground beef every day at about 11 o'clock with salsa and some olive oil and sometimes some cheese. So when you say restaurant food, tell me why.
Because usually they would use seed oils. You'd have a whole bunch of processed food, and it sounds like you're doing it correctly. That's kind of what I would eat for lunch. It's what I do eat for lunch is burger patties. Yeah, I'm not cooking seed oils, not having anything, definitely not fried in seed oils. And yeah, that's why the restaurants are bad. They're just adding mystery sugar, like flour and seed oils and everything. Almost every dish will have some of that in it.
So a little bit to that point, if I could, Brian, obviously I have down here in Southwest Florida, I have a lot of friends that don't work as much as they used to. Some don't work at all. And no, hey, come to lunch. I'm coming to that place over by your house. So I'll go to lunch, and my only options really are in these particular restaurants. One specifically is burger patties with nothing on them, or chicken wings. Right now, I know that they claim the chicken wings are not breaded, and they say they're grilled, but they don't look grilled to me. I think, and Jimmy, you can jump in at any point if you want. I think a lot of restaurants, not all, lie. So my go-to in this particular restaurant was, okay, look, just give me 2 of your burger patties. I don't care if you have to charge me for 2 burgers. I don't go out to eat as much as I used to. It's all going to balance out. 2 burgers, put cheese on one so that I enjoy it, but leave the other one plain, right? Something was funny about eating at this particular place. I'd eat the burger patties, it'd be fine. I'd be like, it's just not. Which I find, and sure enough, I find out that they use like vegetable oil on their grill to cook the patties. And it had a funny flavor to me. Now, this is after about, I'm a little over a year in basically pure carnivore. I have a cheat every 2 weeks or so, just because we're out with friends or there's a party or whatever. This weekend, it was a Mexican restaurant. I could have just had a skirt steak, but I had chips on the table and blah, blah, blah. When you talk about this, people who are trying to get past that hump, which seems to me to be the hardest thing for people, do you recommend they stay in entirely and just try to avoid socializing? What do you tell your clients like that who are saying, look, what do I do?
You know, I don't think that's realistic. Some people can do that and will do that, and some people won't. And I'm of the mindset of 90-10, not 80-20. 80-20, then people cheat too much. So I'm of the mindset 90-10, and also of the mindset that if you are, I don't even call it cheating. I call it just eating more liberally, right? I don't want to create a negative experience with it. That could actually cause more harm. So that's kind of my point is when I go to an event, I can eat something that's not exactly on my plan, but I am not stressed out about it. I'm not creating all this fear about it. I'm not spiking my cortisol I know some people in the health space, they will not eat a single bite of food and they go 5 years and they will not have one bite of food that's not perfect. And then I think that I've heard they had other problems, high cortisol, they can't sleep or they're losing their hair, right? All these other things that could be going on because they're so stressed out about it. So know yourself, know what, are you a moderator or an abstainer too? Right? Like with alcohol, some people just need to abstain from alcohol. Some people, like me, I can go out on Saturday, have a little drink, I'm good, right? I'm not going to like go off the rails. So you got to find that out too about the person.
I think for some people, drinking is what is off the rails. Like they won't go off the rails from a food perspective, but they'll have one drink, then they'll have 6, and then they'll go, well, I didn't eat any bread or carbs, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
You're talking about me. You're talking about me there, aren't you?
A little bit. My follow-up was going to be this. Do you think, okay, so Jimmy and I kind of live virtually the same way. He is a little bit more liberal with his diet in terms of other kinds of fats other than animal products. He's been off basically all gluten for what, Jimmy, 20 years maybe?
20 years off gluten. Yeah.
For me, the gluten thing, obviously Italian pasta, I stopped doing this stuff about 2 years ago for the most part. Do you think, and we have 2 different body types, Jimmy and I. Jimmy's like, damn, I lost 7 pounds. And me, I'm like, damn, I gained 3. Right. So it's that kind of a thing. Do you think that there's a difference in types? For example, if I eat 1 or 2 servings of vegetables, everything goes off for me. First of all, vegetables make me crave other carbs, good or bad, number 1. Number 2, they don't fill me up like meat does. So I'll go to a restaurant and I'll have a ribeye and then I'll have a filet for dessert, or filet as my side, as opposed to having a potato or steamed broccoli or something like that, because they just don't do it for me. Is that a body type thing? Is that a different way of being raised on food? What do you think that is, if it's anything?
It's a lot of things. Yeah, I think there is some genetic component or like ancestry component. It is a preference component. It's a gut bacteria thing too, I think, right? People are learning more about the gut bacteria. It's kind of a hard one. You can't, no one's like, if someone's really certain about the gut bacteria stuff, they're probably wrong because we don't know enough about it. But I think if you start eating some of these things, it feeds a different gut bacteria and then you want more of it. And have you heard the gut is your second brain?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or it's like the gut brain axis are connected. I think that really is true that these gut bacteria can like talk to you. And if you have a little bit of the sugar, even if it's like from a plant, a potato, then your gut bacteria is like, get more, get dessert. So that's like a personal preference thing too, or you have to find what works for you. I know a lady, Laura Spath, you can look her up on Instagram. Actually, my main platform is Instagram.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. Before we go any further, then will you tell the people where to find you on Instagram?
Oh, it's food.lies.
Good.
I just
Perfect.
yeah, that's just where I do most of my content and most of my followers. But uh, she lost half her body weight during COVID. She was like, wait a second, I need to get healthier. And she was 280 and she went down to 140 just by eating carnivore, basically. She's held it off since then. So it's been 5 years and she can't do the broccoli. Yeah, she's just not about the vegetables. And I
I
went to her
can't do them
house. She's
either.
in my Food Life series. I we cooked some like onions and mushrooms and stuff, and she just didn't want them. She's like, if I start eating them, I'm gonna go off the rails. I just don't like it. I don't feel good. Right. So it's just
It
her, and
happens
she's
to
doing
me
it.
too, and it doesn't happen to Jimmy. Go ahead. I'm
No, it doesn't
sorry.
happen to me. I feel good with vegetables. I don't feel good. I never felt good with gluten, and so that's why I gave that up 20 years ago. And but yeah, I eat vegetables and I feel good about it. But my question though, to further up, like, is the Sapien diet very similar to the carnivore diet or the Atkins diet? What is the Sapien diet?
Oh, well, Sabi, I'm trying to go beyond diets, right? So there's paleo, there's keto, there's carnivore. Like these are all good diets. There's even versions of Mediterranean that are good, especially if you're not eating tons of pasta. And I don't want people, if you learn more about diet, if you learn more about actually what food is and how it works in your body, then you won't have to follow a diet. And that's kind of what Sapien is. It's using cues from the past, right? We're Homo sapiens, right? We've been eating a certain way for all of history, and that's how we do best, right? All animals have a specific diet, and humans are no different, right? But the processed foods were not part of our diet. It's very obvious. So sapien is kind of like, yeah, maybe 70 to 80% animal foods. It's you can choose how many vegetables you want, how much fruit you want, like there's all these variables, even depending on your heritage too. Maybe if you're from someplace closer to the equator, you can eat more fruit, right? This is just part of your ancestors' diet. And so that's, yeah, Sapien is just being mindful about eating whole foods, about getting enough protein, about the processing, about avoiding sugared flour, oil, right? These are the three worst ingredients, and letting you have some wiggle room in there to customize it.
So you mentioned gut bacteria before, and Bobby, I know this is something you think about too. So I try to eat sauerkraut every other day at least. I hate sauerkraut too, by the way, but I eat it because I
Mhm.
want to eat more fermented foods. Is that a focus of yours, fermentation?
Yes, actually. I mean, there's pickles, which are more just vinegar. It's not like a pure fermentation, but it's like a form of uh, fermentation. Kimchi. I don't think you need to force yourself to eat sauerkraut. There's probably other
Yeah,
fermented things
that's
you
what
can
I'm
eat.
asking. So what's kimchi? Where do I get kimchi? Just at the Korean? There's a Korean store
Yeah.
down the down
Get it pretty
Roselle
much
Road.
anywhere now, at least in
Oh,
Florida.
really?
They carry it more places now. You could, yeah, some Whole Food. I think most Whole Foods have a lot
Yeah.
of fermented options. I would say definitely, and those foods too are they're like free foods. I call them. There's certain things that are free. Like pickles are free. You can eat 1,000 pickles. Nothing's gonna happen. Your blood sugar's not gonna go up. You're not gonna get fat. They're just kind of like water,
Yeah.
right? Lettuce. Like if you just eat like lettuce, that's not gonna. So fermented foods, pickles, stuff like that. All I think I don't believe in pure carnivore for super long periods. Maybe I always think why not add some pickles, just simple stuff like that.
That makes sense, Bobby.
So yeah, that's perfect because I did a bit of research into pickles, strange as that sounds, and God,
I
that
want to
really
name the
sounds
dog before
weird.
last Pickles too, for after the woman from the Dick Van Dyke Show who was named Pickles. Remember that? But anyway, go on.
Yeah, I do remember that. No, it was a very strange thing because my wife was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading about pickles." Um,
Mhm.
I guess there are, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because I bought into this. Pickles you buy in a grocery store, from what I understand, are basically just pickles and vinegar. They're cucumbers and vinegar. They're not fermented, but there are brands of fermented pickles. There's one called, I think it's called Bubby's or something, where they actually ferment the pickles before they put them on the grocery store shelves. Now they're triple the price of the other pickles. That's for my friend Widge, who every time we try to get our friend Widge, who follows our show,
Mhm.
he watches our shows, and we'll talk about this subject and be like, yeah, not everybody can buy ribeye every day, right? So I'll do pickles, and pickles was this thing that I started doing, and I really got on myself, man. Like I was so negative to myself when I would have a couple pickles because to me it was a quote unquote cheat. So I love what you said about the cheating thing, Brian.
Oh,
But then I found these
100%.
fermented pickles, and I was like, so when I have a craving that I know is going to send me off the rails, whether it's sauteed mushrooms or a chocolate bar, I'll grab a pickle. And it is absolutely a solution for me. So is there a difference between, there's obviously a difference between the grocery store pickles and the fermented pickles, but are they fermented like you would say sauerkraut and kimchi, or am I just fooling myself on that?
No, well, there's a difference between pickles. So you don't want to get the jar. Okay, first of all pickles are good pickles, unless there's some that add sugar and like MSG, right? There's some like bad pickles out there.
Mhm.
But if you have pickles in a jar and they're warm, right? They're in the jarred section. They're different from the cold section pickles, so that you can
Okay,
get
so the
grill 'em.
bubbies you get at the cold section.
Puppies
Go
are
ahead.
great. Yes. So if they're in the refrigerated section, they're going to be a lot better. Those are more live, right? So when you get kimchi, it's live, it's cold, it's refrigerated. But all pickles are good pickles, right? Like that. I would not, if you can't afford the fancy ones, it's not going to like, they're not worse. It's just the fermented ones would be a little better.
Did you guys notice that if we've said the word pickles like 25 times, how funny a word that sounds once you start saying it?
It's a funny word.
It's a funny word, pickles. Pickles. I did not think we would spend 5 minutes on pickles. Now I want to do a whole freaking show on pickles. No,
Well, I also there's something else I wonder in that sort of same vein, Brian, is because like I have so I have a relative, and I really shouldn't say this because he had a stent put in today. Okay, but so he knows who he is, but probably no one else does. He had a stent put in today. He's always been thin his entire life. His brother also had a similar situation. His brother's a year older than him, also always been thin. They both needed stents, and one needed a more serious heart surgery than that. And here's one of the things that bothered me. God, I shouldn't be talking about this. Somebody's
too
going to
late.
kill me. Somebody's going to kill me in my
Anonymous.
life, but I'm going to
It's
do it anyway.
anonymous. It's good.
The doctor said this is clearly hereditary. And I said, okay, I know that does exist, but both of them have eaten like crap as long as I've known them. Right. So when you hear something like that, it makes me mad at the medical establishment, and I'm not sure that the doctor's wrong. So where is my anger justified and where is it not justified, in your opinion, considering you're not a doctor and neither am I?
I'm not a doctor. I just interview hundreds of them. So
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, my
yeah.
my job is to be a communicator. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I was in tech, and now I've been doing this full time for 8 years. Interviewed about 300 doctors and scientists, and just trying to distill it down, make it more digestible, to use a food pun, and get people the right information. So I don't think we're predisposed for any disease. I spent time in Africa with hunter gatherers. They live until 80 with no modern medicine, with nothing, and they have no disease. We ask them, do you have back pain? Do you have knee pain? Do you have this? They're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? No idea what we're talking about. We had a translator, everything. Women, like, do you have painful periods? They're like, no. Do you have painful childbirth? No, it's easy. Everything is just easy and fine and normal. That's how humans are supposed to be. So you do have genetic predispositions to, if you're eating the wrong foods or living the wrong lifestyle, then yes, you could more easily get cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, right? But that's only triggered by the environment.
So
You had something?
So it's
Yeah.
sort of like a blind person. They're not predisposed to getting hit by a car, but if they're blind and they walk into a street, they're going to get hit by a car.
Yes.
Is that a weird one?
100%.
By the way, Jimmy, before you jump in, I want to just put this up real quick.
Oh,
Because
Brian, while
I
he's
like
putting up,
putting-
the hand signals are to Bobby now. You keep talking as long
Yeah,
as you,
you keep
want.
talking about it.
Oh,
I just want to put this up real quick.
Is that what's her name again?
That's Widge.
Yeah, I
don't
know,
who
but
this
who's the
person-
woman?
That's Julia Child. Isn't
Julia
it?
Childs, right? Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Don't forget the pickles, guys. Okay. So, yeah. So you bring up a bigger topic, which is, just because you're thin doesn't mean you're healthy. So while people are following me on Instagram, they should also check out Bill Maeda on Instagram. Bill, Maeda. He's got 2.3 million followers. He's from Hawaii, like me. He's a super ripped 56-year-old, jacked, like peeled, as the young people say. He is shredded, and he has terrible health. He admitted publicly, I have diabetes or prediabetes. I saw the doctor. My blood labs are a nightmare. Everything's bad, even though I'm shredded and work out every day. And it's because and he said, I had a couple phone calls with him too. He said, Brian, I thought I was getting away with it, but I wasn't. He said, I'm addicted to processed foods. I eat sugary stuff all the time. I'm eating candy. I'm eating packaged goods like nonstop. But I thought I was getting away with it because I'm shredded. And it just doesn't work like that. So that's the point that people should realize is being thin, you could be very unhealthy and be thin. Like some of these vegans are super thin, right? And then they have terrible problems. Vegans, the most thing they die of is heart disease. Actually, they still die. They claim they die less than meat eaters, but they're talking about meat eaters. They just mean people who eat the standard American diet, who are just a mess in general, right? So they still die of heart disease. But you can be very thin and still have visceral fat. So that's another thing people can look up if you haven't heard of it. Visceral fat is the fat in and around your organs, and you can't see it, right? The subcutaneous fat is the fat you can pinch, right? And that's stuff you can see. And, it's not great, but it's not actually toxic or inflammatory. There's Bill Maida. Yeah, Bill shredded. He does that stuff every day. He's just out there looking jacked, doing crazy exercises that are really weird. I think that's how he got popular.
My shirt's about to come off. I'm just kidding.
You look pretty trim. You look pretty.
I'm 60. I'm 62, by the way. 60 as well, not 62. And I just did my best Olympic triathlon that I've done in 20 years about a month and a half ago, based on, I think it's the diet changes that I made. I still work out like a freak, but the diet is what really pushed me. But I want to ask a question because Bobby mentioned something about the doctor that it was advising his cousin. And do you think, I think the biggest epidemic is the medical community absolutely refusing to point a finger and say to someone, you have the responsibility here. You have the power to change your health, because nobody wants to hear that. Is that just because we have a society that's a bunch of wimp participation trophy winners who can't stand to think that they're in control?
I think that's part of it. That's kind of like the agenda. That's the narratives that they're pushing. I think the bigger problem is that there's no money to be made in keeping people healthy. Like it's not even a conspiracy. It's like, well, what are doctors going to prescribe? Spend an hour with you doing consultation about the actual right diet. That's not the food pyramid, right? That's like the sapien stuff, like talking to you about, visceral fat, talking to you about doing, actually sustainable exercise that you actually enjoy, diets that you enjoy that are sustainable. Like they can't do all that. They're not going to make money on it. So then that's why the narratives are backwards and opposite. And also, yes, a bigger topic in decade of pushing people away from like health, like these certain narratives of personal responsibility. I think that's
so there's a follow-up question to that too. We had Dr. Brett Scher of Metabolic Minds, and I don't know if you're familiar with the practice, but I found it
definitely.
Yeah,
He's at Food Lies.
absolutely fascinating. And so the point is that, so I fully believe, this mental health crisis that's going on in our country right now, a lot of it is about the standard American diet. However, I've also realized that nobody wants to hear that, particularly if you have a child who is having mental difficulties. You just can't say to that parent, oh, it's because you're feeding them wrong. That's just too much for them to bear. How in the world are we going to get past this hurdle by saying in the most kindest way that if your insulin is running mad through your kid's body from the standard American diet, that probably has some influence on his mental health? And I'm not saying, if anyone's listening to me and think I'm saying all mental health is about that, I'm not saying that even remotely. I'm saying it's a component. What are your thoughts on that, Brian?
I love Dr. Brett Scher. I love Dr. Georgia Ede, who talks about this, Dr. Chris Palmer, 3 great doctors. Most of them are maybe in Food Lies or should be in Food Lies. And they talk about this stuff as a huge component. Huge factor is your diet. Alzheimer's, type 3 diabetes. Right now,
Alzheimer's doesn't even really exist. It's just yes, that's my research has suggested the same thing as yours has. Just stop the insulin. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, exactly. Alzheimer's dementia is basically mostly insulin resistance of the brain. You're eating the terrible foods. Your brain can't get the blood sugar, and then it starts to die. And then the amyloid plaques are just a result of you not being able to utilize glucose in your brain from insulin resistance. So.
But just one thing for you guys, amyloid plaques are what the doctors have been saying is what causes Alzheimer's for the last 40 years. And it was bullshit then. It's bullshit now. Sorry to interrupt, Bobby.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that, like, is bothering me right now. And again, as somebody very close to me who actually had the stent surgery today, and I know what's going to happen. And so you mentioned the thing about doctors and the monetary influences behind all this stuff. And I've said for a while now that I don't really blame the doctors. Jim does, but I just see them as doing the same thing a lot of other people do in their roles, right? They just, this is what I was taught, so this is what I'm doing. And everybody's fine, so I'm not going to change anything, blah, blah, blah. I think the doctors have a little bit more responsibility because there is, especially over the last 12 months, something like that, a lot of new information is coming out. Companies like Rivero, that Dr. Sean Baker has, I saw him down here in South Florida. We were talking, he said he's got thousands and thousands of people now that are showing improvements, so many markers just eating pure meat. So it's kind of a two-part question. I know that the person I'm close to is going to say to me, well, the doctor said vegetables and fish, no meat, no butter, very little fat, right? That kind of, I know the doctor's going to say that. I know that it's very difficult for people to look at this person who theoretically just saved their lives, at least in their mind, this person did, maybe in reality as well. I don't really know. Just saved their lives and said, now do this. And here's this trader, who never wears anything but t-shirts and still tans an hour a day, telling them that, by the way, your doctor who just saved your life is
It's
wrong.
wrong.
What do we fight this, or do we just kind of sit
Yeah.
back and let it slowly evolve?
So this is the hard part. Yeah, it's an uphill battle because we're going against this huge system, and the medical schools have been teaching this for decades. And there's some interesting conspiracy theories about influence by big families like Rockefellers pushing this paradigm of pills and procedures. And this started in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and changing the curriculum and everything, and making anyone who's doing true root cause medicine, like diet and lifestyle, all that stuff, quacks. They actually coined the term quacks to discredit people who are doing the old kind of medicine that we've always been doing. And so, yes, there's a lot going on there. But the thing we could do, well, I'm just making food lies. So that's kind of my answer is, well, I am going to get the world's top doctors and scientists, put them into one series. It's not a film anymore, it's a 6-part series. And then you don't have to listen to me, the engineer on Instagram, or the traders on the podcast. You can listen to Dr. Brett Scher, who's in Food Lies. Dr. Yeah, all the good doctors and scientists that actually know, and just be like, okay, these are like probably more accredited doctors and scientists in my series than the random guy that put the stent in you.
So the second pushback that I get from people is, you have time to work out, I don't. You're in shape, Jim's in shape, I'm in shape, we're all in shape, we all look great, we all look younger than our age.
We should have done it with shirts off. All this whole podcast should have been
We
shirts.
should have done it with shirts off the whole time. Be like, why wouldn't you guys listen to us?
Brian
No
just mouthed it.
steroids
It's not
here.
too late. No, I'm just
No
kidding.
nothing. Actually, Jim and I don't want you to take your shirt off. I've seen your pictures. From a perspective of that, like, everybody says that, and I always say to them, look, I've learned, as I'm 59 years old, I just turned 59, and I learned a while back that you can't work out what you do in the kitchen. You just simply can't do it. There's a better way of putting it. People talking about it all the time now. If I eat bad, it doesn't matter how much I work out. I still feel like shit. My joints still hurt. I still sleep poorly. I snore at night, which I don't do anymore since I've switched to seating. So where do you put working out in this sort of hierarchy, especially in terms of like heart conditions and things like that? It matters, right? But to what level?
Yes, it's the absolute other pillar of health is movement, and it doesn't have to be a part-time job. And the phrase is, you can't out exercise a bad diet, which is very true.
That's
I have
what
a
it
friend
was.
here.
I
who,
suck at words.
he went to Barry's boot camps. These like crazy hour workouts. He's done 1,000 of them, and he's still fat. They wouldn't do it. They're supposed to do a photo with him after 1,000th class, and they didn't do it because he's still got this giant belly. And so he finally told me, he's like, Brian, you're right. I finally believe you. And now he's on the plan, and he lost like 20 pounds already. Just fall, like, actually listening to me for once. He realized you cannot out exercise a bad diet. But I have my own ideas about the workout. You can do it in 25, 30 minutes. I only do in the gym, 60 minutes per week. I
Did
do
you say
2
66
30-minute
0?
workouts. 60 per week. I've not done more than that. In 2007, I did a little more than that when I was at UCLA. Other than 2007, I've not spent 1 hour in a gym in a week. I
Wow.
do these 25-minute workout. It has like a 5-minute warm up. So it's 60 minutes per week. It's all you need. You don't have to do this, right? If you like to work out, do more. But mine's just, I just try to make it available to people. Like you said, I don't have time to work out, right? I don't have time. There's all these excuses. I don't have time either. I'm going around the world. I'm in London for a health conference. I was at this retreat, the regenerative ranch retreat, the next weekend. I'm moving around, but I can always do my 2 30-minute workouts. And I'm doing drop sets to failure. So people can look up drop sets to failure, or
Yeah.
Dr. Ted Naiman, who's on Twitter or X, Dr. Doug McGuff, who I just interviewed recently. He helps people work out for only 12 minutes per week, but you have to do it on like his special equipment and do it really intense. But if you go strong, intense enough, hard enough, going to failure, you can work out in far less time, and it's just as effective. You can rest longer and rebuild your muscle.
Okay, you didn't mention anything about your heart. I love to lift weights, and I lift weights probably 5 times a week, but I also love to run and bike and swim. I love to get a big sweat, and it feels cleansing to me. You was conspicuous that you did not mention that at all. Do you believe the heart stuff is way, way less?
Okay.
I don't think
so-
lifting's not heart stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I think my workouts have pretty high intensity, so I am getting some
VO2
cardio
max
time there.
shit. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I go in the sauna after, and even going in the sauna keeps your heart racing. I do a lot of walking. I play beach volleyball. I was just talking about the gym. So yeah,
Okay.
I didn't quite finish. So in the gym, that's what you need. And otherwise, you should still be doing other things. Like I sprint on Tuesdays. I play beach volleyball for 2.5 hours on Saturdays. I'm
Yeah.
walking. I think moving your body like this low level stuff is a requirement. So a lot of people have now figured out, oh, it's good to go on a 10-minute walk after your meals for your blood sugar. You've heard about this. There's like some
Yeah.
studies about it. People are talking. I'm like, yes, absolutely. But that's the opposite framing. It's good to do that. I'm saying it is absolutely harmful if you're not doing that.
Not doing
And that's
absolutely.
what I found from going around the world. I mean, I was in Copenhagen recently. I was in Tokyo recently. These people are moving their body nonstop. Copenhagen, right? They're biking. They're walking everywhere. They're eating whole foods. Super healthy city. Amazing. Tokyo. People are like, oh no, they just use the subway. No, you go up and down. You're going up and down stairs. You're constantly walking and moving. And I don't think the Japanese are like doing tons of hours in the gym, right? They're like, you can walk around the city. There's no fat people, but there are also no gyms on every corner. They're just moving. So
That's
you are
amazing.
correct. You just need to keep your body moving.
Yeah.
Somebody named L in the chat was helping me, just like you did, Brian. Says you can't outrun a bad diet. Abs are made in the kitchen is the other one. You guys should also have Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, who I don't know.
I don't know.
Don't
me
Don't
either.
remember seeing him on yet. And then also Doug McGuff, Body by Science. I don't know by name either one of those people. Do you know Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, Brian?
Yeah. So Dom's awesome. I've known him like probably for 8 years now since I started. He's big in keto research and ketogenic metabolic therapy and develops a bunch of stuff. So he's a legend. He went on Joe Rogan probably 10 years ago talking about this stuff. And Dr. Doug McGuff was my last interview on Peak Human podcast. So he's the one that does the 12-minute workouts. And yeah, abs are made in the kitchen. Number one thing. People always ask me, because on Instagram, I have like a picture with my shirt off, and they're like, oh my God, how many crunches do you do? All this stuff about the abs. Like I do about 90 seconds of ab work. Like I do a little core stuff, right? You want to keep your core strong, but abs are made in the kitchen. Absolutely.
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't have like a 6-pack abs. I have a 2-pack. They call me 2-pack Shakur. But the ab workout that I do is whenever I'm laying flat on a bench doing a movement, I just like extend my legs out, pull them back in, extend them out while I'm doing whatever upper body movement I'm doing. Sidebar to that, when you're talking, so obviously I did the biggest elimination diet possible. I did carnivore, right? And I felt great doing it. All I ate was red meat, butter, and eggs. For a while, I cut out butter and eggs. But that was very difficult for me to keep up because when I needed something quick, unless I had it cooked already, there was really nothing for me to eat. So that's when eggs are good because you can make them in 7 minutes, right? Um, so what would you recommend for somebody like me? I've lost 40 pounds. I feel great. What is the order of introduction of new things? Should it be things you used to like? Should it be things that go along with what's worked for you so far? Well, how would people reintroduce if they've gotten to that point already?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be something you like, or you're not going to do it. I think
Mhm.
there's certain foods that are better or worse. I actually made a little PDF on sapien.org. I have this little thing free download, and it has like there's a big green section, and it's all the foods that are green, and you can just eat as much as you want of those foods. And then it's like yellow, and it has foods like butter and fruit. Some of these things like you don't want to just go crazy with. And then some of them are red, and some of them are you just don't want them at all. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, I'd say just introduce things that are actually healthy, but that you still like. Like pickles would be a good example. There's certain
No,
other things
let's
like
get back on pickles.
Back
we
on
got to hit
pickles.
more pickle talk. It's been 6 minutes. We have to get back to it.
Right, exactly. Now we're
It
talking.
really does. I mean, I just think they're great. Like I actually, my friend calls it the jar diet. 'Cause I can make. It's just you have jars of things in your fridge, and then you just have meat and eggs, and that's really easy. Like you can make meals in probably 7 minutes. Like you're done with the eggs. Like I can heat up some meat while some eggs are cooking, and then while that's cooking, I'm scooping out sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles, whatever. You have these things that are just pre-made in jars, and that's it. I don't have to keep around like, oh, I need a salad with like 10 ingredients. Like I'm not into that. Like I did that and it wasn't helpful to me.
So we talked before about intermittent fasting, and I am of the belief that it is an amazingly powerful
Yeah, I am
tool.
too.
Dr.
I am too.
Lufkin, in his book, The Lies I Taught in Medical School, goes deep into autophagy or mitophagy on the mitochondrial level. I believe in it. Do you preach windows of eating on a daily basis?
Yes. I only eat lunch and dinner. I think it might even be better to eat a little earlier eating window, but I usually eat in an 8 hour eating window. And for most people, it's going to change their life. It's a huge thing. Uh, Maybe after you're really fit and you're healthy and you're feeling great, you may not need to do that forever. There's some lines of thought of like maybe you don't want to like be so restrictive in that and right, just like kind of
Yeah.
go beyond that. If you're an athlete, right, you have a lot more leeway.
Right.
But I think
So
it's very
here's what I
powerful.
tell people is that because I do the same thing. I eat my first meal at about 11 a.m. and then I eat dinner. And I think it's probably better, correct me if I'm wrong, you're way more of an expert than I, that to eat early and cut it off early and let the fasting go through the night. However, we are social people and dinner is the most social meal of the day. My wife and I, we eat dinner together and we talk about the day. But family comes over on Sundays, we eat dinner. So to me, it's like a balance. Like, yeah, it would be a little bit better to not do the dinners, but dinners are part of my life. That seems to make sense, right?
Mhm. That's exactly it. Yeah, in a perfect world, you would be eating maybe at like 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. and
And then
that's it.
cut, right.
But like that's just
That's one
not.
of the
Yeah, I go to lunches, I go to dinners. Like I just made it so I eat at 12 and 7, and that's just what I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's one of the funny things about mine and Jim's culture is the biggest meal that Italians ever had was Sunday on like 2 or 3 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
It
for
wasn't a
sure.
6 or 7 o'clock dinner,
Yeah.
right? People talk about the Mediterranean diet. When you go to Italy, and Jim, you just came back from there, pasta portions are like, they're a handful. It's not
Yeah.
this massive plate like you get at a west side of Chicago Italian spot, where you're eating it for 3 days. I would eat it in one day back in the time, but um, it's an interesting thing about people talk about the Mediterranean diet. They really are meat and fish focused. The other things are all just kind of like small sides. Even like when my mom would make these Sunday gravies, the amount of meat that came out of the gravy that would then be in the center of the table that we would eat along with the small portion of
Did
pasta.
she use the neck bones to make the gravy, Bobby?
I talked to my mom recently about neck bones. So both of my parents are immigrants, Brian. Jim knows this. My mom, they used neck bones when they couldn't afford other things. The neck bones, my mom said neck bones are garbage. She goes, but it's all we could afford. So that's why we used
it.
them, because we still needed it. She goes, as we had more money, it became short rib and sausage and meatballs and maybe, but the neck bones it's poor people food, right?
Right.
And that's, people remember the neck bones as if it were a key ingredient. We're really getting
By the way,
off the subject.
Brian, Monday's my fasting day where I go Sunday dinner to Monday dinner. So if you find me obsessed with food and looking like lustfully when we talk about neck bones, it's because I'm a little hungry right now.
So Brian, what else? I'm very proud of Jim, and he's about to understand why I'm proud of him. He probably knows this already.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Can I guess?
He's gone you want to say it?
Yeah, I've gone 40 minutes and 15 seconds without mentioning cold plunge. I'm cold plunge obsessed. Tell me what your thoughts are on cold plunge.
Well, I have the Sapien Center. Actually, I'm here in Austin. I have a whole social club and event center, and we have 2 cold plunges, a sauna, an outdoor gym, all this type of stuff. So yeah, I love cold plunge. I actually don't do it that often. I probably should do it more, but I think there is a line of some people. I always listen to all the sides, right? That's kind of my job, is to listen to everyone. I'll listen to vegans. I'll listen to insane people that are talking about nonsense and in all good foods, all food is good food, these standard dietitians, and they have this insane, but I need to listen to it, right? I need to make sure. So there's a community that thinks people are doing too many cold plunges. And if you're stressed out, you're doing too much fasting, you're doing too much, running, too much of this, too many cold plunges, that you could be burning yourself out a little bit. So cold plunges, amazing. But that's the idea, is that you might be doing too much stress to your body.
I think those people are losers. No, I'm totally kidding.
Just going to read something that our last health and wellness guest 2 weeks ago, I think, Dr. Philip Ovadia just put on Twitter here. Our role as physicians is not to force anything on the patient. It's not to force medication on the payment. It's not to force lifestyle on the patient. Our role as physicians is to educate the patients and support them. And that's sort of what you're trying to do, right, Brian? I mean, in the same vein.
100%. That's all I can do, is let people figure out this information. I'm not the doctor. Also, I don't think change is going to come from the government, right? I know people, Nina Teicholz, if you've heard of her, check her out. She's been doing this stuff for decades. She wrote the book, The Big Fat Surprise, legendary book. Most people you've had in your show probably read that book. And I know all these people, Vadia, Lufkin, these guys are all great. They probably all read her book, and she's been trying to change the dietary guidelines for 10 years, and it's just not working. So you don't have to wait for the government to do it. You have to just give people the information, right? Just get the education.
Is our government just too big and bureaucratic to make changes, or is it nefarious? Is it to date back to them just taking money and putting out bullshit stuff?
Oh, it's both. It's absolutely both. Too big. Actually, I've just met with a dean, UT, there's Dell Medical School here at UT Austin, huge school. Dell Medical, she's controlling $5 billion budget to redo the Dell Medical School. And she met with me, last week. She's about it. And I asked her, she wants to help have both sides talk. Like, I'm the alternative health guy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. But she knows that. She's like, I want to get the alternative health people and maybe make it not so alternative. And she said it's impossible to change the guidelines, though, like in the school, the curriculum. I asked her, what could we change? It sounds like you're open. Can we change the curriculum? She's like, oh, no, absolutely not. She's like, we can put in healthier food. Like, she has the ability to put in farm to table type restaurants in this new Dell Medical School and not have McDonald's and Coke control everything. But still, that's hard because it's entrenched in the system and they have contracts and all this stuff. But the curriculum's not going to change. It's just too entrenched. And then it's basically been a gravy train for so long that you can't change that, right? All the people are making too much money. You can't all of a sudden say, oh, let's just get seed oils out of all restaurants. That's never going to happen.
You talk about intense weightlifting, Brian. Jimmy, this is my last question, just so you know. But you talk about intense weightlifting, and something that I do as well. But as I got older, I inevitably, subconsciously go back to my high school days where it mattered how much I bench as an Italian man.
Still does.
So it still does. See, when you do your intense workouts, there's a guy, I don't know if either one of you know what his name is, Mike Menser. Dr. Mike Menser. He was a bodybuilder, and then he got his PhD in I don't know what. But he was the guy who was teaching this in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, that you should work out for 20 minutes, just crushing your muscles, going to failure. And he said that if you're working out more than 3 days a week, you're overtraining and you're actually damaging your muscle tissue. Do you advise people of mine and Jim's age, or is it just younger people? And what do you tell them to do in the gym in terms of going to failure without hurting joints and tendons? It's obviously they're still aging, right?
Yeah. So there's a huge difference in what people think, and this is gonna hopefully make a lot of sense. There usually people do the intense stuff and they're getting heavier and heavier weights, and it's getting really dangerous, and they're using the heaviest weights at the time when they're trying to go the hardest, right? That's a normal thing. 95% of people, they're building up and doing the to the one rep max. I do the exact opposite. It's way safer, way better on your joints. Is that's why it's drop sets to failure. So I'm going less weight. So this is good for any age. You can have kids to grandparents do this, where I'm not using super heavy weights. Like I'm even doing body weight stuff. I could do dips. I grab a 50-pound dumbbell, hang it from my waist, do as many dips as I can. Then I grab a 35-pound dumbbell, many as I can. Immediately grab a 20-pound, as many as I can. Drop the dumbbell and do no weight, as many as I can.
You
That
put
is
a
my
50-pound dumbbell on, you're trying to get to my body weight, is what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's all. That's 4 sets I did right in a row, and I'm doing them to failure. But it's the safest way to do it, because when I was really struggling, it was at 0 weight, right? I was just doing the body weight on the last set. So that's how I work out, and that's how Doug McGuff He talks more about, like, you're not using the heaviest weights possible. Yeah.
That's good. That's an interesting takeaway too. There's one other question I have for you too. Is that so? You mentioned sauna before. I mentioned the fact that for some reason I love to sweat. I just think it feels very, I don't know, resetting of my body and getting rid of toxins. I do work out in the sauna. Like I'll do a plyometrics in the sauna. I'll do hot yoga in the sauna at my club.
Mhm.
Do you think that's beneficial? Because sometimes I worry about lungs. Like if I'm breathing in all this dry, hot air. Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I don't think so. There's a lot of studies on the Norwegian or Scandinavian people. There's people north, and they're just all living longer, doing the sauna. The more
Yeah.
and I think it's just great for your heart. It's good cardio. It's good for releasing toxins. It's like basically helping your liver do less in your kidneys. It's like if you're excreting all this sweat, it doesn't have to do so much work, and it can detoxify other things instead. And yeah, I don't see any downsides. I don't know.
That actually, Bobby, this is something I'm not even trying to be funny here. My liver numbers are always excellent, despite the fact that I don't have the world's greatest relationship with alcohol. I'm not in any way like a raging alcoholic or anything and out of control, but I have been a decent drinker, which I'm not proud of, and I'm trying to cut that back. But maybe that's part of it, that I do so
Brian,
much sweaty stuff.
Yeah, can I give my opinion on this, Brian? And please, if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, say Bobby's fucked in the head. This is really
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
I look at it like this. To me, it's like I got hit by a truck while I was riding my bike one day. I was on the 5th mile of a 10-mile bike ride, and I got hit by a 4x4. Right, I was crossing the street, ran me over. I got up and I was okay, and went and got some X-rays, and they're like, "No, you're a little banged up. You're okay." And one of the doctors said, "You have a lot of muscle on your body, so you're better off than somebody smaller." Now, I feel like he was stroking me, but I'll take that as being true. When you are in the kind of shape that Jimmy is, or that you are, Brian, booze is still bad, but your body's in so much better condition. It's just like if you have a surgery when you're in good shape versus a surgery when you're in bad shape, you recover better, but you're still doing damage. Is that crazy, Brian? Or am I on the right track with that?
I like to think that's correct. I do. I'm like one of the few health people that will go, have some drinks on the weekend, and I think I can handle it just fine. I know it's definitely bad for you, because it's like, yeah, you're not going to get good sleep no matter what. You're not going to get good sleep that night, even if you get 8 hours of sleep. If you wear any kind of wearable, you'll see that it's not quality sleep. So you're definitely going to harm your body. But yes, I do everything I can to mitigate that. Do a sauna. I was doing sauna the next day. I take certain like B vitamins the next day. There's all these things you can do to help mitigate the damage. But yes, alcohol is definitely just doing damage. But I think you're right. Yeah, if you have the well-built machine, you can handle it a bit better.
I love it. I'm going to play us out, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us too. By the way, we talk about health a lot too, and it always comes back to the same point, and that's beef. Dr. Baker, who Bobby just had dinner with, said that, linoleic acid, whatever. Pork has more, chicken has more, fish has more, beef is the best, even if it's grain fed. But however, grass fed, grass finished, by far the best product out there. So please go to Independence Arc Farms. Marco will set you up there. It's some of the best meat you will ever have. Join us at unfilteredinvestor.com to talk more about finance, economics, and trading. That's Brian Sanders. Follow him on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle, Brian?
Food.lies.
Food.lies. And on Twitter at foodlies.org, at foodliesorg, correct?
Yep.
That's because I follow that one. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been The Future's Edge. I'm Jim Uriel. That's Bob Iaccino.